But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. And you know what? You got to keep the faith. And it's week one, and you just don't want to say, okay, it's just throw the season away. No, it's not a throw the season away situation. It's going to be a evaluation over here for the first 4 weeks to see if McDaniels is truly a good fit. If Jimmy G was a good pickup, it's a lot of things that are going to go into play when it comes to this Raiders scenario. So, with that, let's go ahead and move forward to some boxing. And we see that Errol Spence Jr. has activated his rematch clause for a possible fight in late November or early December. This fight will be at 154 as well too, and it won't be for the undisputed and all the titles and all that good stuff. Because you know what, I think Errol's over that whole situation. He already had 3 belts. You know what I mean? He fought 5 fights, and 3 of them were title fights. So, in 6 fights in the last 7 years, and or 5, 6 years. And at the end of the day, the guy won 3 titles in the process. So, he moves forward to 154, a division that he's been kind of chomping at the bit to get to. I think that he would have really loved to have this fight at 154, the first one, but he wanted to do it at 147 so they could fight for the undisputed and fight for the absolute max revenue of the event as well too, because if the it makes the event that much better when you do have a belt, and that's exactly what the deal was um for Bud. And then it made it that much better that Errol had all 3 belts as well too. And it's funny because Errol had dominated the welterweight division over that stretch, and they still hadn't handed him the Ring Magazine belt. But as soon as Bud Crawford beat him, all of a sudden the ring belt is popped out and is on Bud Crawford's waist. So I think if Spence would have won that night, they would have figured out a way to say, well, yeah, he doesn't check off this criteria right here. You know what I mean? And it's just all bullshit at the end of the day. You know what I mean? They play their favorites, and they play like they're not playing their favorites to appease a certain audience and a certain group that really supports them. You know what I mean? They're not worried about the people that halfway support them and criticize them all the time. They're always for the people that totally support them. So what they'll do is they'll throw up a boxer who has no reason being in the top 10 just because they know there's a certain fan base that's going to just drool over that whole situation and give them the engagement and the attention they need. It's all a game at the end of the day, and that's what you guys have to really truly understand. But when you get down to the gist of this fight, this rematch is very much needed. Why would Errol Spence back down? There's no point of backing down, because I'm gonna keep it real with you. If Errol Spence did the same thing to Bud wasn't gonna back down from having a rematch either. That's just the pride of both of these great men, is that they know that they are the best of the best when it comes to boxing right now. And just on that night, Crawford was that much better. I felt like Crawford was able to put his nerves in the right place. He was cool, calm, collective, everything you need to be to win a championship fight like that. I felt like Errol Spence was walking into the fight, as I said the whole time before we even got to the fight, a sense of entitlement somewhat, because he's Errol Spence, he's the truth, and he's absolutely dominated everybody who's ever stepped in the ring with him. And Bud had the same thing, but the way that Errol did it was Errol was such a great technician about it. It was obvious the way that he broke fools down. It with Bud, it just seemed like it would be that sparked moment in a fight, and Bud would just put a guy out. And it was a better presentation somewhat with Errol Spence coming into the fight. You know what I mean? And once we got past the first round, it became Bud Crawford's world. But Bud Crawford was in a zone that night. Sometimes you just can't beat a guy. I remember when I was coaching hoops, we had the best team in the league. I had 2 6'10" guys. And pretty much I thought we were going to walk into that championship game and win by 30 points. We got smoked by 30 points. Why? Because they hit 9 3-pointers in the first half. There's nothing we could do about it. And that's kind of what happened to Errol Spence. Once the fight started going on and Crawford got into his rhythm, there was nothing Errol Spence could do about it. You can't keep coming up with oh, he was drained. Oh, he was this. Oh, Look, every boxer who has to cut weight at these 135s, 140, 147s, 150, 54s, 160s, they all get drained out after a fight, at rehydrations and all that other good stuff. You know, you don't know how you're going to be because sometimes people overtrain, sometimes people undertrain. But in this situation, everything went the right way for both camps. It's just that one guy got hot during the fight and didn't cool off. That's the whole thing. And it came back to IQs. Errol was a bit cocky coming into the fight, and I'll keep it real. Bud fought like a scared man in the fight, and he won the fight because he fought with the idea that he could lose tonight. Errol fought with the idea that this is about to be another walk in the park, and we finna go over here and have us a nice little party over here at girl collection after we get done whooping up on this Nebraska boy. And that was just the overconfidence of a Texan. That's all it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love my Texans. I love their confidence. I love how they go about their business. But you know what? They had a Dallas Cowboys moment. That's all it is. You thought you was going to get to the big game and you thought you was going to do this, that, and the third, and you didn't. It's that simple. It's okay. It happens. But all in all, though, this fight right here, the rematch, it has to happen. It doesn't matter how you feel or what you think. You don't have to watch the second fight. I truly do feel that Errol's going to put on a much better effort. And with them at a bigger weight, it is going to be some issues for Bud Crawford. But Bud Crawford's already a strong guy as is. And he's going to be a monster favorite going into the fight. Hopefully, he does not get the big head before going into this fight. But Errol Spence has been given the toughest task of his boxing life, and that's to come in here and redeem himself from an off night in the first fight. But y'all have to understand the second fight was always going to happen. Even if if the fight was damn near a draw, nobody would even have an issue with this. But since Bud decidedly won the fight, everybody feels like, oh, it's time to walk off from this. No, the amount of hype and the amount of talk that went into this fight, there's no doubt a rematch has to happen. We sat here and talked about it for 5 years, 5 years. And people argued about it for 5 years. People aren't even friends anymore because of this fight. People don't even want to get it. People don't even want to speak about this fight because they guy didn't win. And when he said, I'm putting up, I'm gonna activate my rematch clause, everybody named Mama was ready to jump in Errol's corner once again. But then you got the bums, the losers. Oh, why would he go back and do that again? He already got it. He didn't learn his lesson the first time. Well, this ain't the streets. This is boxing, and this is prize fighting. And there's a lot of money that's going to be in this next fight. The biggest fights for both of these guys is fighting each other in their next fight. So whoever wants, all the phony matchmakers and all the people who are disappointed in this rematch happening, sorry for you. That's the business of boxing. And this fight really does meet up with the business of boxing. And when you have two future Hall of Famers, if they say they want to get it on again, we're going to let them get it on again. And that's that. And that's how it's going to be.